What's going on, guys? I've got here a 2009 Hyundai Accent, and I'm using this car to point out to you the location of the fuel pump relay. I'm going to show you the two fuses that are needed for the fuel pump, and I'll even show you how to access the fuel pump to see if you need to change it. So to begin, let's see if your horn works, and I'll show you why. So if your horn works, then you know that your horn relay works, which means that you can swap that relay with the fuel pump relay. So we're going to open up this fuse box here by pushing in on this tab and lifting up. Now the fuel pump relay is this relay right here. So my favorite way to troubleshoot this relay is to actually tap on that relay while someone's trying to start the car. Sometimes relays can get stuck, and by tapping on the relay or even wiggling it around, you can sometimes get it to start working again. Further troubleshooting beyond that, we can remove this relay, set it aside, and we can swap in our horn relay. If your horn works, you know your horn relay works. So if you swap that in and your fuel pump is still not putting out any fuel, then you know that the relay is not the problem. You've just eliminated that. Now let's get our fuel pump relay back into position. And I want to just go ahead and point out to you the two fuses that provide power for the fuel pump. So we've got this one right here, this 30 amp fuse. This is actually a J-case fuse, and it provides power to a few different things, but we can pull it out. This is what a good fuse looks like here. You can normally just inspect these and see if they're good or not. There's a smaller fuse, a 15 amp fuse right here. This is called the injector fuse. This helps to provide power for the fuel pump relay to activate. And that relay should activate for a few seconds only after you turn the key to the on position, and then it should turn back off. And it comes back on constantly when the engine's actually running. And you can actually provide power to the fuel pump yourself. With that relay removed, we can touch these two pins together. And doing this should send power directly to that fuel pump. So you can do that just as a troubleshooting step. Be careful when you're doing that though, because you will be sending power directly to that fuel pump. So I'll try to show you here the pins. It's the two larger pins right in here. Now, as far as accessing the fuel pump, it's behind the rear seat, and there are a couple of reasons why you'll want to get to it. The obvious one being you'll want to check and see if it's receiving power. So let's head back here. So the fuel pump is actually behind the cover that's right here. You've got to get the rear seat out first. There are two places where the rear seat attaches in the front. So here and here, you should be able to just reach in under the front of the rear seat and pull it up on both sides. And then finally, there's a screw on the back. So we get to that screw through the trunk. So here's our rear seat right here. You can see there's the screw. And I was able to access this screw through here. So it actually went in right in here. I was able to just reach in there with a 12 millimeter and unbolt it. So with that screw out, the rear seat was able to slide out. But let's go take a look at the wiring for this fuel pump. So the cover here is going to be glued on pretty good. You might have to pry it out. There you can see how tacky that glue is. And here's our connector. So it's a 4-pin connector. To get it disconnected, you just push in on this piece and lift up. So 2 of these wires are for the sending unit. So that's the level. And the 2 larger wires carry a power and a ground for the fuel pump. So the black wire comes in here and it provides a constant ground to this pin. The other pin here that I've painted in red, that receives power from the fuel pump relay coming in on that green wire. And again, that power should only be there after the engine's running, or while you turn the key to the start position. You should see some power there for just a second or so. If you do see a power and a ground here, but you're not getting any fuel pressure out of it, you'll want to change the pump. Around the perimeter, you'll want to vacuum all this stuff out, clean it out. You don't want this dirt and debris to drop down into the fuel tank. But you got to remove all these little 8 millimeter bolts that go around the perimeter. And you'll want to disconnect these lines as well. So this is the one that actually carries the pressure. So for disconnecting this, you actually push that further into the fuel pump, and then you squeeze in the two tabs on either side, and then you pull it out. You can see there's some pressurized fuel there that popped out. So be careful, you're gonna see some fuel in here. You don't wanna be smoking anything. And then this piece, it comes out as well. I believe this is just an evap line. And you'll want to pop that off also. So yeah, pretty straightforward here. I hope that this information has been helpful for you, or at the very least a good starting point in troubleshooting the fuel pump on your Hyundai Accent. Please let me know down below if you have any questions or any advice about troubleshooting the fuel pump. Thanks for watching.